adequate to make meaningful impact. The Senate and House Committees on Women Affairs made the assertion after a critical look at the budgetary provision to the ministry. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye completes the report.
The legislators observed that the ministry's mandate is far beyond women issues, but encompasses children, people with disabilities, and other social issues. They therefore postulated that the budgetary provision is far below the requirements by the ministry to execute its duties adequately.
Women's life must be positively impacted upon, and part of the way to do that is to have budget that will be meaningful, will be impactful. Clearly, this cannot do that.
For us now to appreciate or to make the approval of 2017, we have to concur with the committee chair of Poverty Alleviation and Social Development.
With a 2016 budgetary performance comprising 63% release from a capital appropriation of 1.6 billion naira and about 160 million released for zonal interventions, including skills acquisition centers and training of women, the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Aisha Al-Hassan, aligned with the committee's observations. The House Committee on Women Affairs observations were not different from the senators calling for more funding for the ministry to execute its mandate satisfactorily.
If the women are strong, families are strong, and then that will engender a stronger society.
When money is released, of course you have priorities, even before your proposals. So you now pick based on your priorities and allocate money that is released to those priority projects.
Meanwhile, members of the House Committee on Health told agencies under the Ministry of Health to see the National Assembly as partners for the common good.
We are working for the same country, so please feel free, engage us.
Harmonization of reports of the House of Representatives and the Senate will follow presentation of reports at the conclusion of budget defenses. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
And the federal government has restated its commitment to giving education the priority it deserves for the development of broad-based economic growth and development, as well as poverty eradication, in line with its change agenda. This came to the fore when the Minister of Education appeared before the Senate Committee on Education for Budget Defense. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Izumba completes the report.
17 education sector budget proposal of the main ministry, its parastatals and agencies, and called on zero-based budgeting with emphasis on capital projects and programs. The Minister of Education, Adamu, told the committee that some of the key achievements of the ministry include formulating and coordinating a national policy on education.
This year will be further enhanced with a dedicated sectoral allocation to rebuild infrastructure, especially in the northeast, provide additional facilities and maintain the existing ones for more access to students. The main ministry personnel costs came to 3,236,821,170 naira.
Well, sit down and look at the budget critically and see what areas need to be fine-tuned, even deleted when necessary, so that we'll be able to respond to what your concerns are as far as education and its progress in this great country are concerned.
In another development, the National Population Commission was at the Senate Committee on Population to intimate the committee of their performance in 2016 and proposal for 2017. Chairman, National Population Commission, Ezeduru Ihoma, gave the breakdown of their expenditure.
The supply of desktop computers and accessories at a total cost of 14,999,000. The purchase of working materials in cartographic department. Kato is our shortened name for it. 489,000.
Committee Chairman Suleiman Hunkuyi observed complexities in their report.
The sequencing of events, the way you are putting, is not likely to bail you out, because what he is saying is that how can you put under appropriation what you don't have approval for?
Also, the management of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was before the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption to defend their 2017 budget. The committee chairman, Chukwu Kautazi, inquired why the commission received 1.8 billion naira in the service-wide vote in 2016 without recourse to the National Assembly.
If you are going to go beyond what you have given to us the preceding year, you will come back to us. We have to be in the know. If you go beyond that, it means you are no longer working in tandem with what we should be doing here.
The budget defense continues. From the National Assembly, Ifani Isumba, NTA News.
And away from the National Assembly, tax payment is an obligation of every Nigerian as individuals or corporate entities. But multiple taxation experts say has remained one of the drawbacks in the ease of doing business in Nigeria. Guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria say multiple taxation needs to be streamlined and harmonized in the nation's tax collection for proper assessment and auditing. Over now to Abdul Malik Adio for details.
Different levies and imposed on businesses. Guests on the program were unanimous that there are conflicting interests among federal, state, and local government councils in revenue collection. They say without proper assessment and regulatory framework, the factors impeding the ease of doing business in Nigeria will continue to wax stronger.
The thing is, what is the total impact to the percentage of the income that the business can generate? For a business, about 50-room bedroom hotel, to operate, by the time you pay all the proper taxes, you are already going to spend about 75% of your income. So how do we now talk about, so the result is massive unemployment, people are being retrenched.
The biggest issues that businesses face are more from the agencies. And businesses need to be protected from the tyranny of regulators.
Oftentimes, the reasons for collecting these taxes are not easily felt by the populace. Taxation without representation remains a tyranny.
The guest also called for the passage of a new national tax policy which seeks to provide for who pays what, when, and how it relates to individuals, corporate entities, and other concerns.
Talked on incidents of multiple taxation. It provides that effort should be made to streamline, harmonize taxes across the 3 tiers of government, particularly at the state and local government.
I'm looking towards a situation where the Constitution will be amended that even though this is an existing law, that if it has to do with revenue collection or revenue imposition, that the matter has to go back to the National Assembly where there will be public hearing.
Organs of government must respect the approved list for collection of these taxes. Organs of the government must never be undermined, and that is our position.
They stressed the need for taxation to be taken as a serious business to reform and enhance tax collection and administration in Nigeria. In Abuja, Abdul Malik Adio, NTA News.
The Minister of Works, Power and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, says religious misunderstanding contributes to security breaches in the country. The minister stated these while delivering a lecture at the 7th edition of the National Security Seminar organized by the Alumni Association of the National Defense College in collaboration with the National Defense College. He challenged religious, political and traditional leaders to play their parts in the quest for sustainable peace and tranquility in the country.
It helps us to conveniently, not perfectly, conveniently organize ourselves by allowing our diversities to express themselves, because those diversities themselves are not necessarily negative. And again, it helps us to achieve some kind of balance as a uniform people, but still respecting each other's differences.
The seminar had a theme consolidating on the gains of counter-terrorism operations in Nigeria. The National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office and Taraba State Government have flagged off the training of community-based targeting teams for 6 selected local government areas In Jalingo, Christy Ayogwa Adaji reports that the process is to herald the implementation of a comprehensive social safety net program for the most vulnerable across the state.
The federal government's social safety net program is a special intervention project aimed at addressing the alarming causes of youth employment as well as deteriorating human capital of the poor and most vulnerable in the country. Specific schemes under the program include the creation of 5,000 teachers' assistants for qualified teachers for the period of 12 to 24 months, training of artisans, and the provision of soft loan to help them set up business ventures. Representative of the National Coordinator, National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, Mrs. Hajara Sani, said the federal government is not unaware of the fact that over 5.8 million average Nigerians are living in poverty, noting that the establishment of the special intervention is on the basis of a well-thought-out community-based targeting approach with the aim of providing access to target poor and most vulnerable households.
The federal government went into discussion and came up with a designed national social safety net program articulated to strengthen the building blocks of the national social safety net system for effective targeting and delivery of conditional cash transfer.
The Secretary, Taraba State Planning Commission, Ajia Garba, appreciated the federal government for choosing Taraba to be among the first benefiting states, saying that the importance of the program cannot be overemphasized as it will go a long way in reducing poverty to the minimal level. Earlier in her address of welcome, the focal person for Taraba, Mrs. Beatrice Kitchener, described the program as timely, calling on participants to pay attention to all the segments of the training program and utilize the knowledge acquired for the success of the program. In Jalingo, Christy Ayagwa Adaji, NTA News.
Reports have it that since 2011, insurgency in northern Nigeria has forced more than 2 million people to flee their homes. And statistics by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs indicates that 3 million children are urgently in need of education in the country. A UK non-governmental organization, Street Child, has launched its educational intervention project in the country to address this need with a donation of educational support packages at the new Kuchigoro IDP camp in Abuja. Over now to Justin Ben Uni.
Reports from UNICEF show that globally, during emergencies like conflicts and wars, education has no place for priority. As in the case of Nigeria's records of insurgency over the years in the northeast, about 3 million children are said to be in dire need of education. In trying to reconstruct the access to education and support the efforts of the Nigerian government, Street Child from the UK, with the intervention of UNICEF, is in the country to focus on child education and protection as well as livelihood support for vulnerable families. With support from other partners like the Intercommunity Development Social Organization IDS, Street Child kick-started its project from the new Kuchigoro IDP camp by giving out 150 educational support packages. The humanitarian response is targeting 60% of the vulnerable children nationwide.
From the Street Child point of view, we stand for and want to always ensure that the children of today, irrespective of who they are, irrespective of where they are not deprived of their human rights to access basic education.
So it is our aim to go to that place, go to places like Maiduguri, go to places like Yola, and even beyond, to actually start to engage the communities there, to support children who are out of school, to access their basic rights to education.
I want to appeal to you, don't sell anything that has been given to you. Give it to your children. They are meant for their own good.
30 mothers are also to be trained on skills development, after which grants for startup will be given as livelihood support. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
And Lagos is where we go next, as Abdullahi gives us details of the report on 171 Nigerians deported from Libya, as well as other stories. Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you, Hawa, and thanks for joining us in Lagos. Another batch of 171 Nigerians have returned to the country from Libya barely a week after a batch of 161 Nigerians returned home from the North African country. Senior Special Assistant to the President of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, was among the government contingent that received the returnees at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. Jane Ojukwu reports.
The 171 returnees who arrived in Lagos at about 4 p.m. on Tuesday were received by a team of government officials from the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and immigration officials. Director Search and Rescue, NEMA, Air Commodore Salisu Mohammed, gave a breakdown of this batch of returnees.
A total of 112 female, then 49 adults, male, 5 male children, 5 male infants, and a total of 59 male.
One of the returnees shared her horrific experience in Libya.
I traveled to Libya 11 months ago, and I was deceived that I was going to Germany. Every day, if you don't want to work, they will start maltreating you.
Senior Special Assistant to the President on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, commended the returnees for voluntarily coming back home rather than remaining in Libya, where irregular immigrants face severe hostilities.
Some of them are trafficked, and they get there, they actually get nothing. So the message is that it is not worth it. As tough as your country is today, you're better off here.
She assured the returnees that efforts are being made by various states to empower and reintegrate them. She said another batch will be evacuated soon, after which a final one in which all Nigerians stranded in Libya will be given final opportunity to be evacuated. In Lagos, Jane Ojukwu, NTA News.
A 3-day training workshop on fisheries protection and regulation in Nigeria has kicked off in Lagos. Jennifer Igwe reports that the program is organized by the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Terror of sea pirates, illegal and unregulated fishing activities pose a threat to the nation's participation in the international fisheries industry. This could make Nigeria lose a lot of foreign exchange. It could also encourage exploitation of fisheries.
If it is not regulated, it means that a vessel that's supposed to be fishing with 44 mm mesh size, the net, could go with about 15 mesh size, and that means that he's going to carry the juvenile fish, which you call the small fish, that will not allow to be left in the sea to grow. So that means that we're going to have depletion of resources.
The training is to build capacity of Nigerian Navy personnel and fishing inspectors.
We discovered that most of the time they can't interpret our laws. When they help us apprehend our trawler operators because they have violated one offense or the other, by the time we get there, we discover that they have misinterpreted the law.
The reason why this training is earmarked is for us to build capacity, so that when there is instances of boarding at sea, especially boarding a trawler, each officer or each naval personnel know what he is supposed to do and what items he should look for.
The Nigerian Fisheries Legal Framework and Act was examined.
If you look at most of the penalty in this law, it's too small. Where you see 50,000 naira, they can just pay if they commit any offense, which is too small. Look at where it doesn't have license, doesn't register, where it's 250,000 US dollars. It's too small. So the law needs to be reviewed.
10 most common fisheries violation and enforcement challenges faced in the nations were also identified. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
And Jennifer's reports ends the news. From here is back to Hawa, who has more stories in Abuja. Hawa, over to you.
Sure, Abdullahi. Moving on now, management of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, has reaffirmed commitment towards providing conducive environment for its workforce. Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, represented by the Executive Director Special Duties, Joseph Etuk, stated these when the organization's National Health Insurance Scheme Accredited Maintenance Organization came to talk over implementation issues. Chukunonso Nwabeze has the details.
With the high demanding nature of broadcasting industry, the need for adequate healthcare services for optimal employee performance becomes necessary. To ensure the over 5,000 workforce of the NTA is adequately catered for, Managing Director of Managed Healthcare Services, Dr. Patrick Correa, said they are on a fact-finding visit to evaluate the impact of their services to NTA family.
To ensure this best and necessary medicine, the scheme was designed to use 87% of the premium to deliver care. Ourselves, as Managed Healthcare Services, this 87% of the premium we collect is meant for delivery of care.
The Executive Director of Special Duties, Joseph Etuk, who represented the Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, while assuring the firm of continued collaboration, sought their support to upgrade the health section of NTA TV College Jos to a primary health care provider.
People work here from morning till morning, and they are quite prone to a number of health challenges. So if you are going to serve us, manage us well, you have to work closer with us. You have to provide a services that is balanced so that we can feel the impact of what you're doing.
The team is to hold medical screening on Wednesday and Thursday for NTA's staff within the headquarters in Abuja. Chukunonso Nwabeze, NTA News.
And pilgrims are advised not to get involved in political issues during the pilgrimage exercise in Israel, but exhibit distinct character and faith. It was at a ceremony commemorating the completion of the 2016 pilgrimage exercise by the Executive Secretary, Nigeria Christian Pilgrims Commission, Reverend Tor Uja, in Abuja. Lydia Basi reports.
Due to various challenges like visa procurement, these pilgrims were unable to perform the pilgrimage last year. Reverend Tor Uja enjoined the pilgrims to show the pride, beauty, and glory of Nigeria. He encouraged them to take notes on their experience and write books for posterity, and for a pilgrims workshop to be organized before May this year.
Where you go, the covenant of Deuteronomy 28 covers you. You shall be head and not tails. You shall be first and not last. You shall be victorious and not vanquished. Because the covenant of God is over your life.
9 states were represented at the flag off.
As soon as I'm in the Holy Land, to have time to pray for my nation, and most importantly, to also rededicate my life and to be sure that I become much more committed and devoted to my faith.
This is my first time of going to Israel. As a Christian, it is necessary, won't be there.
About 2,500 pilgrims are involved in the 2016 completion pilgrimage to Israel. In Abuja, Lydia Basi, NTA News.
And we now join Kemi in our Ibadan Network Center for top stories from that zone. You're on, Kemi.
Thank you, Hawa, and a warm welcome to Ibadan. Nigerians have been implored to be fervent in prayers for the nation's leadership and harmony in the country. Clerics at an interreligious prayer session for President Muhammadu Buhari gave the advice in Ibadan. Adebola Ogulano has the report.
All accept our thanks and praises in Jesus' name.
That was how the people of Oyo State gave praises, offered prayers of repentance, and sought God's mercy upon the nation. The clergymen from Christianity and Islamic religion call on the 3 tiers of government and also religious leaders in the country to always pray for forgiveness.
Turn from our wicked ways and seek God. Nigeria, there will be peace in the name of Jesus. We thank the Almighty Allah for the good that you have done us by giving us victory over Boko Haram.
Your state governor, Senator Abiola Ajimobi, some traditional leaders and other leaders agreed that Nigeria will be better if all can unite and go against tribalism.
Intended well, it's meant well, it's meant to assist the country.
I believe and I know that Nigeria will be great. They also prayed for peace and economic prosperity of Nigeria. In Ibadan, Adebola Ogunlanu, NTA News.
Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola has described the burning of Ilesha High Court by hoodlums as an assault on civilization and the judiciary. The governor said these while assessing the damage with a promise to fish out the culprits to face the law. Olabode Arewa has the report.
The governor, who was accompanied by the state's chief judge, Justice Adepele Ojo, inspected the court registry where sensitive court documents were kept, along with the library and the court secretary's office. He sympathized with the judicial arm of government and particularly the court security guard, Mr. Olaiwaju Weye, who was wounded during the attack. Governor Rauf Aregbesola assured them of their safety in the discharge of their duties, describing the arson as an attack on the whole society. He added that all courts in the state would be given priority attention in terms of security and rehabilitation to a befitting status. The Chief Judge Adepele Ojo told Governor Aregbesola during the visit that computerization of court records had now become a priority. From Elisha Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Ogun State Police Command has restated its commitment to fight acts of kidnapping and other forms of criminalities to the barest minimum. The Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Ilyasu, made this known at a parley with officers and men of the police in Ijebu area of Ogun State. He implored them to be up and doing.
While commending the synergy between the police and other security agencies in Ijebuland, which resulted in the reduction of crimes in the area, the police commissioner charged the officers and men to sustain the tempo. He called for more synergy and collaboration, urging them to operate with respect for the rule of law, human rights, and life of human beings. Mr. Iyasu charged them to key into the change begins with me mantra of the federal government declaring zero tolerance to corruption, extortion, and extrajudicial killings.
We have talked to the men to redouble their efforts in crime fighting, in all the strategies we put across the length and breadth of this area command. They had to see that they are ahead of the crime and criminality in this particular area.
Earlier, Ijebu Area Commander Funsho Alao said community policing strategy adopted by his men has resulted in the relative low crime rates recorded in the 6 local government areas of Ijebuland.
There is great improvement in interaction between the police and members of the public. The constant review of strategies has enabled the area command to identify the areas of problems in interaction, reduce and disallow corruption with zero tolerance for corruption.
The police boss visited Abuja of Ijebuland and also commissioned the newly upgraded Omu Ijebu police post into a division. In Ijebu, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Ibadan. It's back to you, Hawa, for the continuation of Nationwide.
Kemi in Ibadan. You can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. And it's nationwide on the network service of the NTA. More reports after this break. Do stay.
From what we have seen, we have the capacity
which we can rapidly develop or feed in ourselves. If we don't import rice, we stop importing corn and other grains, Nigeria would have plenty of money to invest into developing industries, especially manufacturing, textiles and so on, and develop iron and steel, and complement the infrastructure development. So really, the opportunities are virtually limitless, and we are very, very aware of this, and we are prepared to exploit it to the fullest.
Now, you can hold that dream occasion without stress. Horizon Caterers will provide answers to all your catering questions. Exquisite hall designs, mouth-watering and nourishing local and continental cuisine, suitable for all types of ceremonies, including weddings, AGMs, business luncheon, cocktails. Name it, we can bring it. Our chefs and executive waiters give your guests that unforgettable experience in service. Our service covers all states of the Federation. Call us today to book your occasions. 0805-502-9637, 0803-450-9726, 0909-9708-111. Horizon Caterers, experience catering beyond the horizon.
Make it a rewarding relationship with your rib-cracking comedy, Professor John Bull, as we serve you dish upon dish of fun and laughter.
Look at how this dog is mashing the food Flash Boy bought with his cash.
And the absolutely unbelievable.
I will take care of everything. Okay, worst come to worst, I will become your girlfriend.
From us to you, the all-new Season 3 of Professor John Bull, a feast of comedy and social satire dished out by Nigeria's biggest entertainers. Every Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 p.m. on NTA Network International and Star Times. Professor John Bull, 3 times more hard-hitting, 3 times more rib-cracking.
Who I help? I don't bap.
Over and out. Brought to you by Glow.
Welcome to the new speed of life. Do you crave class? Do you have taste? And do you care about comfort? If you do, then for your next event, a stay away from home, a business trip, or a holiday, visit Jade's Hotel at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja. Check out our world-class services, exquisite suites, restaurant and bar, gymnasium, spa and grills, and our outdoor catering services and cuisines. At Jade's, it can only be better. For bookings and reservations, visit us today at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja, or visit www.jadeshotels.com. Our email address is info@jadeshotels.com. You can also call us on 09291-9321 or 0810-909-7956. Jade's Hotels. Welcome to life.
There are over 250,000 street children in Lagos.
The Street Childcare and Welfare Initiative is a sanctuary for street children and runaways. Rotimi Aziz was one such child. 3 years ago, his life was the streets.
It's hard to sleep on the floor because sometimes rain fall and beat us on the floor while we are sleeping outside. So we experience a whole lot of bad things on the street.
Following the approval of the whistleblowers policy by the Federal Executive Council and its launch by the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, patriotic Nigerians have been making inquiries on how and where they could deliver information that could lead to the stopping or uncovering of fraud to the appropriate authority and answers to frequently asked questions. The Federal Minister of Finance has therefore dedicated a telephone line for receiving SMS, a whistleblowers portal, and an email address through which members of the public who volunteer to disclose information about a possible misconduct or violation could deliver such information for the attention of the team dedicated to process such information.
Thanks for rejoining us on Nationwide. Moving on now, in supporting the Tertiary Education Fund, TED-Fund, to achieve its mandate, the President has approved the TED-Fund 2016 budget for the year 2017 intervention activities of over 213 billion naira for public universities, colleges of education and polytechnics. Executive Secretary of TED-Fund, Dr. Abdullahi Bafa, stated these at a media briefing after a meeting with vice chancellors, provosts and rectors, said the amount is the highest in the history of the institutions. Abdullahi Musa Sulija completes the report.
The TED Fund is mandated to provide funding for provision and maintenance of essential infrastructure for teaching and learning, research and publication, academic staff training and development, among other things, in all public tertiary institutions in the country. Executive Secretary of the TED Fund, Dr. Abdullahi Bafa, said, while approving the intervention fund, the President directed that about 100 billion naira, which was disbursed and allegedly mismanaged in 2013, must be investigated.
We're determined to see that Nigeria's tertiary education institution is being manned with scholars that have their terminal degrees. TED Fund will be all eyes and all ears in monitoring the judicious utilization of the allocation by all institutions.
While calling on beneficiary institutions that have not yet accessed their backlog intervention fund to come forward with requisite document for the release, Dr. Baffa said the President has also cancelled any special intervention as a result of previous abuse, except such intervention is on natural disasters. In Abuja, Abdullahi Musa Sulija, NTA News.
And residents of a settlement in Benue State count losses from a fire disaster as the state government adopts new strategy to fund education. For details of these stories and much more, from our Makurdi Network Center, let's now join Charles.
Thank you, Hawa, and welcome to Makurdi. The Benue State government has adopted a new strategy that will ensure adequate funding of education in the state. Tagged the new Benue People's Education Project, BPEP, it is aimed at harnessing alternative sources to support public education. Blessing Omeche Ebute reports.
Following the decay in the educational sector with its attendant consequences of infrastructural decay, various stakeholders have continued to evolve ways that will improve the sector, with particular focus on public schools. Benue State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Dennis Itiavia, said the government, having identified the challenges of education in the state, set up the Benue People's Education Project.
By bringing together the government and the community members, BPEP hopes to generate greater shared political, operational and financial commitment to improve access to resources and technical support needed to optimally educate the almost 2 million students enrolled in public schools.
Coordinator of BPEP project, Betty Kajo, says the project will use flexible and adaptable approaches to generate funds from local businesses, appointed and elected office holders, and international donor agencies, among others, to cater for almost 2 million pupils and students enrolled in public schools in the state.
As the project gains momentum and the people see that we're actually using the proceeds to develop education, hopefully they will be inspired.
The Benue People's Education Project, BPEP, is an initiative of the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. In Makurdi, Blessing Omeche Ebute, NTA News.
In a bid to ensure that its officers and men are physically and mentally fit to carry out their duties, the Nigerian Air Force has had its first quarterly route work for the year 2017. Tena Uma covered the work which took place at the Air Force Base, Makurdi.
The route work, which started as early as 6 o'clock in the morning, had 431 officers, airmen and women, as well as youth corps members posted to the Air Force Base participating in the exercise. The Air Officer Commanding Tactical Air Command of the Nigerian Air Force Base, Makurdi, Air Vice Marshal Abiodun Balogun, who was represented by Air Vice Marshal Paul Dufina, says the work is intended to keep officers physically and mentally fit to respond to duties at all times.
We came back in one piece, so which means we are physically fit and we're ready to carry out all the responsibilities that are entrusted upon us.
Some of the officers and airmen and women interviewed say the work is apt and timely.
Keeping fit is part of health and well-being, and then for we, it's being combat ready.
The exercise is held quarterly in Makurdi, Teina, Uma, NTA News.
Well, the story on fire disaster may be brought to you in our subsequent bulletin. For now, it is over from here. Hawa is back to you.
Yes. Many thanks to you, Charles. And the National Assembly is set to carry out a holistic investigation to identify all areas of revenue leakages in government agencies. Chairman, Senate Committee on Customs and Excise Duties, said members have prepared templates to commence investigation. This was at an investigative hearing with the committee, Central Bank, industry and relevant agencies. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Ezumba reports. Sorry, we cannot get that story across to you now. Moving on, the federal government is to partner the Nigerian liquefied natural gas to revive and complete the construction of the Bodo-Boni Road project. This was part of revelations during the just concluded working tour to the south zone of the country by the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola. Over now to Muhammad Hamza Sheikh.
First awarded in 1998, the Bodo-Boni Single Carriageway project is perhaps one of the most important but most neglected projects in the whole of the South-South zone of Nigeria. First, the project could not take off at the time of award due to infighting and other hostilities among the host communities. It was then re-awarded in 2002 and work commenced in 2003, but finally abandoned by the contractor at about 20% completion. The contract was eventually determined and terminated, then re-awarded in 2014. But even the new contractor could not mobilize to site due to non-payment.
Once you put the infrastructure here, this place will change. Communities will set up here, industries will set up here, support services will set up here. Perhaps the way to put our current reality is that from what we've seen in the last 2-3 days, it's been one story of an abandoned project after the other. And this happened at the time Nigeria was making money. So this project will come back on track, like many of the others we saw that have come back on track, and we will build from there. This is the road out of recession, getting people to work.
The project consists of the construction of a single carriageway road from Bodo in Edo State to the gas-producing center of Boni Island in Rivers State, including the construction of 3 bridges across the creeks of Afa, Opobo, and Nanabie. Muhammad Hamza Sheikh, NTA News.
And the Nasarawa State is benefiting from the new 330 MV power line as part of government's drive to boost power supply. Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Makura announced this while inaugurating members of the State Executive Council. Joshua Ojito completes the report.
Yes, Nasarawa State has suffered epileptic power supply, the situation which affected the growth of small and medium-scale enterprises, especially in Lafia, the state capital. But following the approval of federal government to step down the 330 MV line that passes through Lafia from Enugu, Makurdi to Jos, the dark days of power supply in the state are over. State Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Makura, who was speaking during the inauguration of newly appointed commissioners, said some of the equipment for the project have arrived, with workers already mobilized to site to commence work.
I'm happy to say that the 330 line projects have already commenced, and in the next 1 year, not only Lafayette, but entire Nassau State will have a robust infrastructure in power generation and distribution.
Governor Al-Mukura emphasized that while government is making efforts to provide infrastructure, communities across the state must protect public facilities, describing the rate of vandalization in the state as alarming. Governor Al-Mukura tasked the newly sworn-in commissioners to initiate policies geared towards uplifting the living standard of people in the state. He charged them on accountability and prudency in the management of resources and urged them to explore more sources of revenue to boost internally generated revenue. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
And experts on housing have assured Nigerians of government's determination to provide 180,000 houses to address the housing deficit for sustainable development. This was the position on NTA's Current Affairs program. Tuesday Live. Talatu Ezerike completes the report.
Needs of man is a challenge for Nigerians as home ownership rate is put at 25%. This many say is very low compared to countries like Kenya with 73%, Benin Republic with 63%, and that of Singapore at 90%. Analysts attribute the neglect of workable housing policies, high mortgage interest rates, and corruption as some factors that give rise to housing deficit. Interestingly, there are concerted efforts through the federal government direct intervention in the housing sector to build houses for all strata. Of note is the Federal Integrated Staff Housing, FISH, that is public-private driven to be sustainable, accessible, and affordable.
What we are trying to do through our partnership with the Mortgage Refinancing Company of Nigeria is to broker some understanding in a way that the single-digit interest rate will still be maintained. It may not be 3%, but it may be lower than 10%.
Where can you get a loan of where the interest rate is 3%? You know, and of course it's highly subsidized. They know the bracket, what the public servants or civil servants are earning. So, and of course, all those things were considered.
For others, the need for sincerity of purpose and adoption of housing schemes that conform with modern-day realities.
In the current National Housing Program, the Honorable Minister has tried as much as possible to engage the state governors to give sites that are close not only to the cities and settlements, but also very close to existing infrastructures.
The strength of numbers assists significantly. Like for the estate we're developing right now is a 3,000 unit housing estate. So whatever it is we're buying in bulk, that any supplier that we're using, we get economy of scale.
There are high hopes of government getting the housing sector right to meet the aspirations and expectations of many Nigerians, especially the low middle income earners. Talati Ezerike, NTA News.
And oil thieves were arrested on the spot and several illegal refineries destroyed as officers and men of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps raided Amakri area of Okrika Council area in Rivers State. The new commandant, Mohammed Haruna, advised vandals in the state to embrace legitimate line of business. Cordelia Ukoma completes the report.
About 5 different illegal refineries were razed down by officials of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps at Amabokiri in Okrika local government area of Rivers State, following a tip-off. Rivers State Commandant of the Corps, Mohammed Haruna, stated that 2 suspects were arrested in connection with the crime on the spot, while 5 other refineries still under construction in the same area were destroyed.
We intend to continue with that type of operation to ensure that we reduce the issue of building and operating illegal refineries to the barest minimum.
On the negative impact of the illegal operation and its consequences on the environment, Commandant Haruna said the agency is already in synergy with other stakeholders on the better ways of checking the trend in Rivers State. The Commandant equally advised youths to avail themselves of better and legitimate businesses, as bunkering will no longer be allowed in the state. Edo State government explores tourism potential in the state.
Let's now go over to our Benin Network Center for details with Amazing. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Hawa. Thank you for joining us in Benin. The Edo State government says it will maximize the tourism potentials to boost the state economy. Governor Godwin Obaseki said this when he visited the Amaho waterside in Igweben local government area. Good luck, Naini tells us more.
Amaho waterside in Igweben local government is the meeting point of rivers Orion and Eba. It is located in the forest reserve of Amaho community.
Behind me is one of the red houses put in place by the colonial masters, which serve as their guest house.
Governor Obaseki said the visit is to ascertain the tourism potentials of the two rivers and see how they can be harnessed to boost revenue generation.
We are trying to identify economic opportunities. We're trying to identify the landmass we have. We have a very strong drive for agricultural production, and you can see the scenic nature, how clean one of the rivers is compared to the other one, and the confluence, particularly in evenings, there's some interesting waterworks.
The Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, a member representing the area in the State Assembly, Mr. Justin Okonobo, described the visits as a sign of good things to come.
Because of that river, so he has also promised to tie that route, that Amaho Ugu Ogwa Road.
From Amaho, I am Goodluck Inaini, NTA News.
The Auchi commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps has embarked on a routine inspection of vehicles to ensure compliance with road safety rules. A mobile court was also set up where offenders were tried. Odion Acha has the details.
In line with the Commission's major aim of securing lives by making sure only worthy vehicles are applying the roads, officers and men of the Federal Road Safety Corps, in partnership with the Nigerian Army and the police, mounted the checkpoint along the highway where all vehicles were inspected. Those with expired papers and driver's licenses, bad tires, overloading, headlights and other offences were impounded and taken to the mobile court, where they were fined various amounts depending on their offences.
They are doing their job, so I think it's okay. It's all I want to appeal to them to at least temper justice with mercy, knowing the condition of the country right now. You see somebody's vehicle doesn't even have 10,000 in his pocket and give him a ticket of 50,000. It's frustrating.
Well, they are doing the right thing, sure. But I might say there's no motor that this will compete for. We know it's actually it's normal thing. But acclimately consider us that what we are begging for.
The Outreach Unit Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Mr. Moses Bature, who spoke in an off-camera interview, said the operation will be a continuous one. Victor Odion Acha, NTA News.
We're done from here. Awa, it's back to you. Good afternoon.
Very well. Amazing. And on the global scene, 45-year-old Mexican man commits suicide after deportation from the United States for the third time, just as Malaysian police declares diplomat wanted in connection with the mother of Kim Jong-nam, half-brother to the North Korean leader. For more reports on global tidbits, Runke Kolawole is standing by.
A South African High Court has ruled as unconstitutional and invalid the decision of government to withdraw from the International Criminal Court, ICC, urging the government to revoke its notice of withdrawal. The ruling is in favor of the opposition Democratic Alliance, which had earlier challenged the government from withdrawing membership from ICC without parliamentary approval. Two African countries, South Sudan and Somalia, had to receive £100 million assistance from the United Kingdom government to alleviate famine. It also called on the global community to step up support for the two nations. In Malawi, President Peter Mutharika has dismissed with immediate effect the agriculture minister following the outcome of an investigation into $34.5 million maize procurement fund. Away from Africa now, Turkey has urged Israeli government to stop what it called illegal settlement policies on Palestinian land. Turkish President Recep Erdogan had earlier condemned Israel's decision to ramp up settlement in the West Bank as an absolute provocation. For Global Tidbits, Ruke Kolawole, NTA News.
And Amanzi Marcus has